Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we're going to be finding out what happens if you return to the Adler Ranch after you beat Red Dead Redemption 2. So this is a mystery I wanted to dive into for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I think the backstory of Sadie Adler is incredibly unique and also really cool. But also, the only time you get to interact with the Adler Ranch is in the very first mission of the game. And in that mission, essentially, the gang is stuck in a massive snowstorm in the Grizzly Mountains, and they are trying to find shelter. And Micah finds this ranch. And this ranch turns out to be the home of Sadie and Jake Adler. Now, because this is the first mission for everyone, there's a lot to process, figuring out the characters, figuring out the controls, so you might not have had time to explore around and check out everything. There's a lot of details you likely missed, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video today, and also returning after you beat the game. Are there any differences? So again, as I just mentioned, you first come across this home when Micah Bell discovers the location and tells us that we need to come check it out.
You up ahead. Who's there? Micah.
Gentlemen,
Found anything?
I think so. Found a little homestead down that way.
Okay. Anyone home?
Sure. Place is blazing with light and noise. Sounded like a party.
Let's go see.
Follow me.
So he says the place is blazing with light and noise, and a little bit later on in the conversation, Arthur asked Micah if he was sure about this location that he had discovered.
So, this house, you speak to the people there already?
No. Like Dutch told us, look, but don't talk to no one. Just following orders, you know me.
Right. How much further?
Not far.
What does that mean?
Not far.
Thanks.
So the gang eventually arrives at the Adler Ranch, and another reason why I want to check this out, which will be seen later, is this is happening in the dead of night in a massive snowstorm. So there's a lot of details here that we are unable to gather. But eventually, Dutch tells Micah and Arthur to get into position, and they encounter whoever is in the house.
Hello?
Shut up, Billy.
Excuse me. Hello? Oh, well, hello, friend.
What you want?
I am very sorry to disturb you. My friends and I, well, we got into some trouble up the way, lost in the storm. Gentlemen,
We can't help you, mister.
I got folks
Arthur.
dying on the trail.
Arthur, we got a problem. Folks. There's a corpse right here.
Now, I just
Arthur,
need some
There's a
cans
body
of food
in the
or
wagon.
something.
I hear you. Just
Gentlemen,
keep your eyes on Dutch.
please.
I think... Oh, now, buddy.
Now, friend, I ain't asking for much. Please, I am kind of desperate.
Hey, I don't believe it. Come here, partner. Come here. It's goddamn Dutch Vanderlyn, you morons! Coleman's gonna shit his pants. Put your hands up.
So Micah actually gets startled by a body that can be found on the little wagon that he is hiding behind, and it turns out that this cabin has been overrun by O'Driscolls. They obviously recognize who Dutch is, and a massive firefight breaks out. And once you have cleared out all of them, you are then kind of free to explore the cabin as much as you want. Now, the first thing you might not know about is that body that Micah has discovered, that is Jake Adler. That's not just some random body. That's who I thought it was at first. No, that is Jake Adler, Sadie's husband right there. That is pretty creepy, certainly very tragic, to say the least. Now, from here, your instructions are to go inside of the house and find any food, medicine, supplies, etc. that you might be able to grab. And while that is your main objective, if you don't go exploring around the rest of the house, you might actually miss some critical details. So the first critical detail that you could miss is actually a photo of Sadie and Jake Adler. And when you pick this up, Arthur and Dutch have some unique lines of dialogue.
Looks like the poor bastard was married too. At some point.
If we can't eat it or drink it, put it down.
So again, it just adds to the tragedy of this story. You guys can see there that that is a wedding photo of Jake and Sadie. And on the back, it says Jake and Sadie wedding, September 7th, 1896. So they had been married for about 3 years before this incident happened. So not a long time at all. Now, another thing we can see is, I think, a photo of either Sadie or Jake's mom or dad, potentially even grandparents. It's located on the left-hand side of the bed. You can see there's an older lady and an older woman. Again, I would have to imagine that those are relatives or parents or family members of Jake and Sadie Adler. As I'm sure you guys know, at some point during this mission, Micah actually finds Sadie inside of the house. However, when we're exploring, she is nowhere to be found. So that kind of made me want to explore to see if I could find where Sadie was hiding. And she's not visible anywhere inside of the house. I mean, you can open up every cabinet, every drawer, every chest. You can go up to this little loft up here. She's not there. So the only thing I can assume is that she had a trap door or some sort of, I guess, cellar underneath her house that she had been hiding out, because she clearly escaped the hands of the O'Driscolls and was able to hide out and somehow managed to be found by Micah. So that's something interesting that I don't think I was able to find out in this video. Of course, if you think you know where Sadie was hiding out, again, be sure to let us know in the comments down below. So now that you know all of that, let's go explore this area outside of that mission. So I'm going to return as Arthur in Chapter 2, and then I'm going to return as John after the end of Epilogue Part 2 at the end of the game. So you guys can see here that this is the Adler Ranch, and the aftermath is obviously quite significant. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, why is the cabin burned to the ground? Well, in the struggle that Sadie and Micah had, the cabin ends up completely burning to the ground. Like a table was flipped over and it caught the lantern on fire, and the whole house went up in flames. So when you return, and obviously no one has come back to rebuild the ranch. So it is completely burned to the ground, as you would have expected. Now, probably the biggest thing I found that was interesting about returning to the ranch after that first mission was that Jake Adler's body is gone. So you guys can see this little wagon here. His body is no longer there, which has kind of made me wonder what happened to it, because we don't see the Vanderlyn gang go up there and get it. I don't think any of the O'Driscolls are going to go back for it and get it. So again, this raises a huge question. What happened to Jake Adler's body? Did someone come eventually get it? Did it just erode over time? You would assume then we would find bones or a skeleton or something like that. Maybe this is just an oversight from Rockstar. Maybe they just removed it. But we never see Jake Adler's body ever again after that, which again, to me, is kind of mysterious. Now, later on in Chapter 1, you can actually overhear Hosea mention that the gang should provide Sadie's husband a proper burial. However, there's no grave or burial site for Jake. Now, ironically enough, Hosea actually asked Micah to do it, so go figure that it never got done and that he never gave a proper burial for Sadie's husband, Jake. Now, another thing that was interesting about the Adler Ranch that I was unable to find when I was in that first mission was a lockbox that you can find. And the lockbox for me only had jewelry in it, which again is kind of interesting. Typically, there's more good things in a lockbox than jewelry. Maybe this is the jewelry of Sadie Adler, though. That would, of course, make sense, because this, of course, was once her house. Now, that isn't the only thing you can find. There's also a cheat code called Death is Silence written on one of the burned beams of the house. So it is worth your time to come back here if you A, wanted to pay respects, B, just check it out, or C, grab the lockbox of jewelry and obviously check out the cheat code. That's something that you can get as well. Now, aside from that, there's nothing else that's all that interesting. The house seems like it was the only thing that burned to the ground. The rest of the ranch, although it is still unoccupied, is inaccessible and no one has seemed to done anything else with it. So I think it would have been kind of unique if someone else had come around and maybe occupied the ranch. And that is exactly why I wanted to check out the Adler Ranch in the epilogue as well, because the 8 years that actually goes by, you never know, something unique might have occurred at the Adler Ranch. So I flashed forward as John, and again, this time we are going to check out what happens at the Adler Ranch when you're playing in 1907. And sadly, there is no difference. It's the exact same thing you would see and experience if you visited as Arthur in Chapter 2 or Chapter 4, 6, whatever the case is. But either way, I still thought this was a really cool experiment to sort of go back and check out the Adler Ranch, really the first place you visit in Red Dead Redemption 2. And the aftermath is crazy. I almost wish there was more of a backstory. And that's why I'm still holding out hope that Rockstar will do some sort of single-player expansion that involves Sadie Adler and maybe her quest to get even more revenge on the O'Driscolls, or her life after, the Red Dead Redemption 2 story. I think that would be so unique. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about this and more. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new, or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.